all personnel. Evacuate immediately.
I've got you. We're getting out of here. Just hold on.
The Etherian diplomatic summit had been running for 4 days without incident, which in Jace's experience as embassy security meant the 5th day was statistically overdue for complications. The evacuation alert that erupted at 1422 confirmed that assessment with considerable enthusiasm. The cause was a structural integrity warning in the embassy's eastern wing, not a hostile event, but the kind of cascading system's failure that required clearing the building completely within 20 minutes before engineering teams could assess whether the warning was critical or precautionary. In the operational hierarchy of emergency protocols, unclear whether critical meant everyone treated it as critical, which meant everyone moved fast toward the exits. Everyone except Ambassador Lyenne Aravel of the Etherian Conclave, who couldn't. Lyenne had been using a powered wheelchair since a research accident 3 years earlier had damaged the neural connectors that Etherian physiology used for lower limb function. Her chair, custom-built, technically sophisticated, capable of navigating most modern architectural environments, had encountered the emergency stairwell that stood between the east atrium and the designated ground floor evacuation point. The stairwell had no lift access. The chair's anti-gravity mode had a 15-minute battery limitation that had already been consumed during the building navigation that brought her here. Jace took this in across approximately 2 seconds. Then he walked over, crouched to her eye level, and said, "Ambassador, I'm going to carry you to the exit. Is that acceptable?" Lyenne looked at him with a specific expression of someone recalibrating an expectation they'd been managing quietly for some time. Around her, the atrium continued its organized evacuation, soldiers and staff moving purposefully toward exits, her presence registering as a logistical note rather than a genuine priority in the compressed urgency of emergency protocols. "The chair," she said carefully. "I'll come back for it," Jace said. "Your chair is machinery. You're a person. There's a priority order." Something in her expression shifted, not dramatically, but in the way that small things shift when they've been carrying weight for a long time and something unexpectedly removes it. She nodded once. Lifting her was straightforward. Etherian physiology ran lighter than human equivalent. Her wings folded with instinctive grace against his arms, and she held his shoulders with the careful tension of someone unused to trusting a situation they couldn't control independently. He navigated the stairwell quickly, her weight less relevant than the importance of moving efficiently, and reached the ground floor evacuation corridor within 90 seconds. The soldiers who'd moved through before them had already reached the exterior assembly point. When Jace emerged with Lyenne in his arms, the response from the assembled personnel was a silence with considerable texture to it. Captain Vora Hentin, the Etherian Guard commander assigned to Lyenne's protective detail, had a very specific expression, the one that appears when professional training and personal response arrive at slightly different conclusions simultaneously. "Ambassador," she said, which was technically a complete sentence. "Corporal Wren assisted me through the stairwell," Lyenne said, with the composed precision of someone whose tone carries significant information beyond the literal words. Jace set her down on a bench near the exterior assembly point with the same practical care he'd applied to lifting her, made certain she was stable, and said he'd retrieve her chair once the engineering team cleared the east wing for non-essential access. "You don't have to," Lyenne said. "I said I would," Jace said, which he evidently considered sufficient explanation, because he turned toward the building's now supervised entrance without further discussion. Captain Hentin watched him go, then looked at the ambassador, then arrived at a diplomatic conclusion she delivered with characteristic restraint. "He went back for the chair." "I noticed," Lyenne said. "Most people," Hentin said, choosing words with the precision of someone who'd spent a career choosing them, manage the evacuation and consider the situation concluded. "Yes," Lyenne said. "He considered it concluded when you had your chair back." Lyenne was quiet for a moment, watching the building's entrance where Jace had disappeared. "I was prepared," she said finally, "to manage the stairs myself. Eventually, once the evacuation flow cleared." Her wings shifted slightly in the afternoon light, the Etherean equivalent of a complicated breath. "I've become very good at eventually." Hentin had been Lyenne's guard commander for 6 years. She recognized the weight of that word. Jace returned 17 minutes later with a chair, having apparently navigated both the building's post-alert access procedures and the engineering team's assessment protocols with the same unpretentious efficiency he'd applied to everything else. He maneuvered the chair to her position, confirmed it was operational, and delivered a brief factual summary of the East Wing status. Minor systems failure, nothing critical. The summit would resume the following morning. Then he returned to his security position without requesting acknowledgement, gratitude, or any particular response to the preceding hour. Lyenne watched him for a long moment. "He doesn't expect anything," she said quietly, "more observation than remark." Hentin had nothing to add to that, because it was accurate and complete, and the kind of thing that rarely needed elaboration once it was said. The summit resumed the following morning, and the day after that, and across the remaining 3 weeks of diplomatic proceedings, Jace Wren continued performing his security assignment with the same systematic attention to the actual content of his responsibilities rather than the appearance of them. On the summit's final day, Lyenne requested a brief private word with the embassy's security coordinator regarding Corporal Wren's performance evaluation. What she said in that meeting was not documented in the official record, but the security coordinator's notation afterward read, "Exceptional commendation filed, Ambassador's specific request." Jace learned about the commendation 3 weeks later from his unit commander, who delivered it with a puzzled expression of someone trying to understand what distinguished this particular assignment from any other. Jace didn't find it particularly puzzling. He'd gone back for the chair because he'd said he would. That seemed like the entire explanation. Some people, he'd learned across years of service, found that kind of consistency remarkable. He'd never entirely understood why. The end. Please like and subscribe for more stories. Don't forget to drop your feedback.